Do I have a motion to suspend the rules? I've got a motion by George Lawrence. Do I have a second? Second by Paul Tisdale. Michelle, will you read the additions? I'm sorry, all in favor? How'd you vote? In favor? Motion carries unanimously.
To the consent agenda, we're adding item 5K, resolution authorizing and accepting change order to the construction agreement with Case Brothers Construction Company for the Hurricane Katrina Infrastructure Repair Program South Contract Area STMI 1 and 2. We're also adding item 5L, resolution authorizing and accepting change order to the construction agreement with Case Brother Construction Company for the Hurricane Katrina Infrastructure Repair Program South Contract Areas BEA 1 and BEA 2 and BEA 3. We're also adding item 5M, resolution amending the police department budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, in the amount of $140,000 to purchase 3 police patrol units.
I move the
Thank you,
agenda
Michelle.
as amended.
I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended by Councilman Lawrence. Do I have a second? I have a second by Paul Tisdale. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signal with raise your hand or aye. Mr. Guines, how do you vote? In favor? Passes unanimously. We have an agenda. So bring us to the presentation agenda. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it. We welcome everyone to our council and look forward to getting this and going into our budget hearing after this. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll bring that to council reports, and just so everyone's aware, I am filling in for Nathan Barrett. He will be here later. We'll start with reports on my right, Mr. Tisdale.
But yeah, just a couple of things. Number one, I think we really need to schedule a spring break related ordinance workshop again. We've gotten away from that, and these events are rolling around here on the calendar, so we need to set a date for that, I think, as a council. The second thing is we had another water line break in Edgewater Estates, actually on Eastview, and residents want to know when they're going to be getting new water lines there, and I'm thinking that's a budget item, and I mean, it's not just that portion of Edgewater Estates, it's Lakeview and Fairview as well, and then you've got parts of, well, Bay Vista subdivision, so everybody's needs new water lines, old technology, 60 years old. But other than that, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tisdale. I'm going to go to George Lawrence. Are you okay? I don't know if anyone saw that, but my pen exploded and hit Miss Newman in the eye.
Think the falling apart over there?
Councilman Lawrence.
Yes, I had a couple more phone calls about the Lighthouse Park, and I want to know what your efforts are trying to take care of so many homeless where the people can't use the park themselves. We built the parks for the people, so we need to do something, move them out of there, move them up the road, I don't know. But there's 12, 13 of them, not pretty much taken there at both ends of the park, even by the oak tree, by Balta Lane. About 5 or 6 hang around there, so it's got really bad the last few weeks. So I know it's probably nice sitting on the beach and the wind blowing for them, but it eliminates the citizen who has just as much right to the park as anybody. So I just hope that you can get something done and move along. I know the Chief Miller tries, and we move them up the road, and 2 hours they come back. I mean, it's just an all-day thing with them because there's nothing else for them to do. It's not like you going to work and them going to work. You know, they just sit around, but it's affecting the citizens. And I think it's time for us to step up and take care of that and help and support the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lawrence. Councilman Guines?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on, go a little bit further with the lighthouse pier. Is there any attraction? I was asked about that today. about the Lighthouse Pier. I know we were looking at building it a little bit better, a little bit stronger. Is there any update on it?
Well, no, again, our interaction, I think Tanya and Christie, we've been in the design mode and trying to source about $4.2 million of more breakwater concrete and sustain, where it will sustain itself. The bottom line, we thought we were going to get 1.2 million and then plus another 1.2 million from FEMA. And they came back with a little twist to saying that we could replace that pier for $221,000. So we're in a go-around mode with them. And, again, the whole project, the 800-foot pier with concrete of everything and 320 foot of breakwater is our goal. And we may do it with or without FEMA. But that's where we are. As soon as we understand where we are with regard to FEMA, expecting 2.4, I think, Christie, is that about right? 2.4? And we're going to build about a $4.2 million pier, one way or the other.
Gotcha.
Well, Mayor, going back to that, they can replace 800-foot pier for 221,000.
Yeah,
I don't believe that.
Well, we'll show you we'll show you what they said. Is that
I
not
don't
right?
believe that right there. There ain't no way.
Yeah, no way. That's
It
right.
always cost us 700,000-800,000 to redo it, pretty much the way it was. And it don't work.
No, we actually, we had a engineer's estimate to replace it as what, I think it came back at 1.2.
Correct.
So, I mean, we did what we thought we were supposed to do, and they're playing games with us, and we're going to have to play that game with them, too.
We got Wicker's office involved.
Right, thank you.
Okay, and I guess I went by the old baseball park. Looks good. They finally cut all the weeds down. And what was the other thing? Cruiser Street. Christie, you get any update on that Cruiser Street pavement or the bid that went out?
We receive bids tomorrow on that.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
Okay.
Yep. So then we'll know who our lowest bidder is, and you'll see it come to y'all to award the contract.
Okay, and we're a week out from Main Street opening, right?
We hopefully so, yes. I'll check on, I told them I want them to go ahead and schedule the striping, so I will check on that, make sure they've got that scheduled, and then I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Christie, if you, sorry, Ms. Labata, if you would, hold on right there for a second, just
Sure.
to save you time and energy.
Okay.
Councilwoman.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilman Gines. You sent out some emails regarding the SAV, right, the submerged aquatic vegetation?
Yes.
Can you explain that to me? The DMR is allowing us to remove it from certain areas and relocate it to others?
Yes, that's what we're trying to get them to allow us to do. That's what our permit requests are for, to allow us to mitigate. So basically, we'll go in and pull up those clumps of grass, because that's underwater grass, that's essentially what it is, and move it to one of the other locations. We've got along Bayview Avenue, where there's already wetlands, along the Potts Ferry Causeway, relocate those grasses there where we won't have to disturb them later, so that we can go in and dredge these areas, these canals that need to be dredged.
This is a thing to do, because that was not been able to do in the last 6 or 7 months, I think.
That's correct. Before, they wouldn't even entertain the thought. Now they're entertaining that thought, and so we're working through that process to get our sites approved.
I think 5 or 6 acres is what I was understanding. So we have 5 or 6 acres identified around Goat Island at this point.
Yes.
And so whatever we pull up, we'll have to replant.
Right. So we've got a plan. It's at DMR. Our consultant is kind of negotiating with them, working through that process, because it is still a new process for DMR, so we're working through that.
Do we know what the projected cost increase will be to add this to the step?
We have no idea.
Substantial.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be cheap. I'm not even sure how, because that's something else we don't know is it's underwater grass, so we're not really sure how we're going to be allowed to get it out.
Well,
So,
let
Have
me,
a request for tidelands.
yes, we do have a request for
I
tidelands
think
to pay for it.
we replenish as we dredge, so we don't have to have, 5 acres of replenishment right off the rattle.
Right.
As we
That's correct.
do so many square feet, we'll replenish so many square feet.
That's
Almost
right.
like oak trees, right? When you
Yes,
lose oak
yes.
tree, you replenish it.
That's right, it'll be as we go. Hopefully, they'll let us pull them up as we're dredging. That's kind of our hope, but we're not real sure how that's going to go.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
spring breaks resolution, did you want to schedule a workshop, Mr. Tisdale?
I'd love for us to schedule a workshop. In my opinion, the sooner the better, but I know we may have another budget workshop or two, and that makes for long days when you have more than one workshop.
It does. If you want to find some dates, maybe circulate them to us for a couple months down
I
the road.
don't, well, I don't know if we're doing anything next Tuesday. It's a fifth Tuesday.
I think that's probably going to be too soon for the majority of us with all the budget workshops. I would say maybe somewhere out into September.
For the spring break related ordinances. The sooner in September, the better. We've got a night meeting on September 5th. That's a Tuesday. We could do it, at 6 o'clock. Do it at 4 o'clock.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I would hope that it would be the last workshop we have, just to be sure that we've dotted all the i's and crossed the t's. I know Peter's spoken with several organizations, and so he's going to update us on some things, and then any additional public comments, and then possibly vote on this a week or two following that. So if we did it Tuesday, September 5th at 4 o'clock, does that work for everybody? Terrific, thank you, I appreciate that. Do you need a motion and a second on that, Michelle, or no? To set the date, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tisdale. That's all I have, so this will conclude council reports. This brings us to the public agenda, citizen comments. We have 45 minutes total, 3 minutes per person. I'm going to start with everybody on my left-hand side, which is your right-hand side. Is there anybody on my left-hand side that would care to come up and speak? Please, if you would. When you get to the microphone, please state your name and your address and sign in for me as well.
Thank you. Captain Clarence Seymour, charter boat SYL, Biloxi, Mississippi, 26 years in the charter boat industry, federally permitted, state guide. Today's discussion is on 4D, on berthing rates again. I'm really would like to ask you guys to consider our burden also along with our shrimpers, which is mostly what we're going to be discussing on our decisions on this right now for the charter boat industry in Biloxi. A dollar increase is somewhere around 33% increase from where we was. Gulfport Harbor is at $3 a foot for their commercial entity, so we're right in line with that. But at $1 a foot, a 33 or 30% increase is a tough cookie to take. I don't think nobody with this economy and tourism running out right now, we're going down to dead right now. So school let back in. You know, we all have to realize what the effects of all this is. So, I mean, I make a recommendation that if we're going to raise rates, let's take baby steps at this. Like, let's try like 5-10% if we need revenue, and we get the amenities out of the revenue that the extra funding by the charter boat fleet is taking in. The charter boat fleet, I would say 90% of them shop local at Pat Calusa's bait shop to buy our fuel, Danny Patallo's bait shop and tackle shop. Our industry is more locally subsidized than our other local industries on the coast. So the shrimpers, they go all the way to the back. I understand. It's about a 40% cheaper fuel price to go all the way to Galot's in the back. Now, they're running slow back and forth, but they're doing their thing. But shrimpers, Monday, I was down there the other morning, and they had a nice flow of people. I was so excited. My folks didn't show up Monday morning, so I sat and watched the sun rise and watched folks sell shrimp right there at Biloxi. It's amazing what hard-working Americans can do with the right people that's involved with making their great decisions on how we run our industry and our businesses. It's just, and I'm running out of time, and I really would appreciate the reversal back to $3 a foot. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you keeping an eye on the clock. It makes it easier for us.
Thank you.
Anybody else on my left-hand side that would like to speak? Again, if you would, when you approach the microphone, please state your name and your address, and then sign in for me as well. Name and address, and sign in for me.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matt Westover. I operate the Go Topless Fishing Charters out of Point Cadet Marina. I'm the captain and owner. Captain Clarence made a lot of good comments and a lot of good things to point out. I might piggyback on him a little bit. Hopefully, I won't repeat him too much. You're gonna have to excuse me. I haven't been in public speaking since 10th grade, so this is a little new to me. I'm going to name a few things. My sources came from gulfcoast.org and visitmississippi.org, okay? Just to touch a little bit about the tourism and stuff and what we reflect down here as a charter fleet. You know, in 2020, it said that 25 million visitors spent $7 billion in Mississippi, okay? 14 million of those people came to the coast and spent 1.8 billion, all right? So that means the Gulf Coast accounts for roughly a third of the state's taxes and tourism, okay? Now, casinos are number one. Everyone knows that. Casinos are number one. But number two being the outdoor activities. That's where we come in at, okay? And also, through surveys, an overwhelming majority of visitors are satisfied with their visit. And they touch on the friendliness of the community, which leads to 75% repeat visitation rate. That friendly, welcoming atmosphere, I would say the charter fleet takes a big part in, you know, with other activities they do and whatnot. It's such a personal touch that we give on board the boats out there and giving them that special experience. With this extra dollar increase, we have about 50 boats, okay, between Point Cadet and Small Craft Harbor. They range in size from 25 feet to 60 feet. So that's about 45 feet on average. So 45, and it's an extra $45 a foot. I'm sorry, $45 a boat, 50 boats, it comes out to $2,250 a month, $27,000 a year. It's a lot of money. It might only seem like $1 a foot, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money taken away from the small businesses, which are families, which have everyday struggles just like everyone else. You know, insurance is going up. I'm well aware you guys know about that. Fuel prices going up, kids going back to school early. All that takes away from the business that we have. You know, if there's a way that we could perhaps control one thing that doesn't get more expensive, you know, I'd like to see us perhaps do that, you know, just that dollar increase. Like Captain Clarence said earlier on, if we start small, we have a plan such as the drainage, the fish carcasses and stuff like that, issues that we're dealing with, maybe we can start small and have a plan of action to take care of those issues. Maybe, perhaps. But for right now, I think it would be great if we could just keep it at $3 a foot, sorry, and it would help out a lot. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Is there anybody else on my left-hand side that would care to come up and speak? Is there anybody on the right-hand side of the room that would care to come up and speak? Your left-hand side. Please come up. When you get to the microphone, please share your name and your address and sign in for me.
So my name is Jason Van Zant. My address is 2519 Province Place. So I am the CEO of Hometown Workforce. Tech startups are a rare commodity in Mississippi, but tech startups that support the working class are rare everywhere because these young hotshot founders, they can't relate to the problems. What we've done to help build the middle-class economy is created the first services marketplace. So imagine a website where instead of ordering products, you order services from people in your community. Things like house cleaning, carpet cleaning, ceiling fan replacement, or leaky toilet repair. All the small things that are almost impossible to get done, you can order off this website with the push of a button. And the reason it's so hard to get these little things done is because successful businesses with employees, they have too much overhead to worrying about replacing a ceiling fan. The thing is, lots of regular people, they have these skills. They just have no idea how to turn those skills into a successful business. That's exactly what Hometown Workforce does. It makes getting work done easy, and it turns the skills of the people doing this work into successful business owners. So our tech, it manages your finances. It provides you with jobs, and it schedules those jobs. So all you have to do is wake up in the morning, look at your calendar, and it tells you where to go, what to do, and when to be there. Your sole responsibility is to show up on time and do a good job. In exchange for this commitment, you can have a successful business, and it pays as much as the market will allow. You also have complete control of your schedule, so your family doesn't have to take a back seat to your career. Never again worry about missing a Little League game or dance recital. Just mark those hours as unavailable, and no one can order your services during that time. This is not some hypothetical company that we need billions to build. We built this over COVID. We just need for people to know about it so that they can actually use it. So please help us kickstart this thing by ordering a service, or better yet, contacting us about becoming a business owner. Then together, we can help people all over the Gulf Coast create the life they've always dreamed of. So the website is www.wfskills.com. We are a true Biloxi-based tech startup. And our goal is to create businesses.
Mr. Van Zandt, if you would sign in for me.
Do I need to put my address? All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Do I have anybody else on the right-hand side of the room that would care to speak? Anyone in the back of the room? There being none, public comments is closed. We'll move to the policy agenda. Ordinances. Michelle, if you would read A, please.
Ordinance to amend Section 9-1-22A of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to garbage collection and disposal fees.
This is the first reading. I just need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Paul Tisdale. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by George Lawrence. Michelle, if you'd read ordinance B, please.
Ordinance to approve zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning district classification from their present zone district classification of I industrial to DT downtown.
Again, this is the first reading. I'll just need a motion and a second if there is one.
I'll move it.
I've got a motion by Felix Kynes. Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilwoman Newman. Ordinance C.
Ordinance to amend the Biloxi Land Development Ordinance, specifically to amend Section 23-4-3D10E3 pertaining to the annual application fee for short-term rental.
Thank you. This is a second reading. The first reading on August 15th was moved by Paul Tisdale and seconded by Nathan Barrett. I'll open the floor to discussion to you first. Mr. Tisdale?
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think. It increases the annual application fee from $100 to $250. Currently, the application fee is $150 for the first year and $100 every year thereafter. I think I'm correct, Mr. Creel. So this would increase that annual application fee to just a flat $250, correct?
The fee every year is $100. The first year, they have to get a certificate of occupancy, and the fee for the certificate of occupancy is $50. So that first year, it's $150 in fees, and then $100 each year after that. But this would actually raise that initial fee. They'd still be required to pay for the CO. So the first year would be $300, and then every year after that would be $250.
And there were some other things mentioned as well in this ordinance. They obtain a certificate of zoning compliance. They currently do that, correct? Or no?
Not a certificate of zoning compliance, but a certificate of occupancy, but we wanted to make sure that everything was included in here so that there would be one issued.
Right, which would include then a privilege license, an occupant limit card, and a certificate of, well, we said a certificate of occupancy. So that's just to be sure that they've got all the documents they need that are listed there. So what currently would be $150 the first year, from here on out is going to be $250 every year, correct?
$250 per year, and then the first year, the extra 50 for the certificate of occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman, more importantly than that is the requirement for renewal to show proof that they have paid their taxes.
Yeah, I know we've struggled with that because that's up to whoever's listing the property to check the appropriate blocks, and some do and some don't, and it's not very transparent in dealing with Jackson or the Mississippi Department
Well, we don't
of
intend to
Revenue.
deal with Jackson, Councilman. We're only asking them to prove that taxes have been withheld. And in any of those portals, whether they're management companies or VBR and so forth, they all print out a report. They could print out a report showing the taxes that were collected. We know it's a long stretch to try and require them to show that the taxes made it to us.
Right,
We're just asking to prove that they are paying taxes.
outstanding.
There's an estimate that of the 400-plus short-term rentals in the city, that only half are probably paying taxes.
Well, we have no way to verify that, and that's one of the purposes of amending
Correct.
this ordinance.
Right.
Okay,
The burden would be on the applicant to provide the documentation to show that, or else they wouldn't be able to renew their license.
okay, thank you.
Anything else, Councilman Tisdale?
Nothing.
Barrett is not here with the second, so if there's anybody else that has discussion, I'll open the floor to Councilman Lawrence.
Please, the biggest problem is getting the tax money back to the city of Biloxi. And all this stuff everybody does, we never know if we receive it or not. They could pay it to Airbnb. That don't mean we get it back. That's my biggest problem. How do we can prove that we get the tax money owed back? I mean, this is a commercial business, right?
It is,
When you turn these little motel rooms, you're putting all over the city.
That's correct.
That's a commercial business. We should be able to find out if we're getting our money or not from, like Mike said, foreign places. There's something wrong with that when we can't prove we get anything. But all the problems fall on the city of Biloxi.
One thing that may help us there, Mr. Lawrence, is that with this new software program that we've plugged into the budget for this coming year, they have the ability to tell us how often each of those short-term rentals were rented, when they were rented, when they were not rented, and that might provide us with some documentation to show about what the taxes should be for the course of that year. You know, the program is not completely perfect. It's not something that's going to answer everything, but it will get us a step closer to that, so.
I read that write-up on that guy. He's selling $27,000 nothing. The numbers guy over there could write a better program than that. He can't prove anything that you can't prove. I mean, I read through that. Did you give me anything? I was nice enough that you gave it to me. It don't prove anything. It's just a program. Listen to a bunch of things. He could tell you more about fees, nothing about taxes. He can't go to taxes no more than we can. And that's the problem. So I really wasn't impressed after reading it. I'm glad you give it to me. It just might be a system. I mean, you could probably do that thing in your office, list all the short-term rentals and what they do and what they don't do, but he can't prove anything about tax. That's the biggest problem.
Gentlemen,
Like you said, half of them,
Councilman Lawrence, I'm sorry, collecting taxes from the state is a different topic. I want to move along this one
it's all about the
resolution.
short-term rentals.
Well, it might be about the short-term rentals, but it's not about them presenting proof that they paid taxes. It's about how do we get money back from Jackson, a totally different topic, and we can spend a lot of that in our budget hearing, because that's part of the budget. So if there's nothing else related to the specific resolution, I'd like to move on to Mr. Guines.
No, that was my main thing. The taxes has always been the same thing.
Thank you, Councilman Lawrence. Mr. Guines?
I have none.
Councilwoman Newman? The only thing that I have on here is the suggestion that it was a new requirement to get a certificate of occupancy.
No.
That's a current
Certificate of
requirement.
zoning compliance. We already require certificate of occupancy. We already require a privilege license. We already require an occupant limit card. We do that anyway. This is just helping to get it into the language.
Okay, I don't know if this is an issue for procedure, Peter. That wasn't underlined in the resolution as if it were added. Subtractions or strike through, additions are underlined. And so I don't know if that causes us a problem with our publishing requirements. I'll just leave that on the table for you to think about. I have no other comments. If we're okay, we're okay. I'm just pointing that out. All in favor, signal with raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Excellent.
That will bring us to ordinance D.
Ordinance amending section 10.5-2-1-2 relating to the berthing rates charged by the city of Biloxi for the small craft harbor and Point Cadet Marina pertaining to rates changed for charter boats.
Thank you, Michelle. This is also a second reading. The first reading on August 15th was originally moved by Councilman Guines and seconded by Councilman Glavin. Councilman Guines, will open the floor to you for discussion.
Yeah, Nathan and I got together on this, talked about it, and he met with these gentlemen here. And after talking with him, he couldn't said it no more eloquent than he said it. And at the bottom line, you guys are local, and local is what it's all about. And we're supposed to support our local businesses as much as possible. The other thing, you said it needs to be kind of like baby steps. And I believe we'll take that recommendation and start looking at it from a smaller increment and then move it up accordingly at that time. So after speaking with Nathan, I'm in full support of it, and I encourage all my colleagues to support it.
Thank you, Councilman Guines. Councilman Glavin seconded. He is not here today, so I'll move the discussion to Councilman Lawrence first.
I think it's best to just keep it at $3 a foot, and we'll go from there later. How we can look at it later, upgrade the harbors. A lot of projects getting ready to do that. And like they said, they need maybe a grinder. There's a lot of things need to be done inside the harbor for them to benefit. Right now, they're not really gaining anything by going up $1, so like he said, $28,000 a year. So may I say, keep it at $3 a foot.
Thank you, Councilman Lawrence. Councilwoman Newman? Councilman Tisdale?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the $1 increase. I didn't vote for the amendment last time because it did not increase the commercial fishermen by $1 a foot. And the reason I support an increase of $1 a foot is because of the increased labor cost associated with the employees who got a raise in the past year or two, maybe 2 small raises in the past 3 years. We've got dumpster costs that increase. We have the same increases pretty much that y'all do. And again, in 2016, I don't know if all of you were here chartering in 2016, but the rate at that time was $6 a foot, and it was cut in half to $3 a foot where we've been for the past few years. So I don't think $1 a foot for an increase is a staggering cost. It's a big percentage because the fee is such a small number, $1 per foot. But anyway, that's the deal. I worry about the increased costs that I have at home. I know you do, and you stated it well. But the city has these same increased costs, and we've done it without raising the millage for the past, I don't know, 27 years. 27 years, and that concerns me greatly. I would, and I'll save more discussion on that type for our budget workshop. So I can't support this measure to reduce what was just increased by $1. Hope you understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Tisdale, for your comments. And lastly, I agree with Councilman Guines, Councilman Barrett, Councilman Glavin, and Councilman Lawrence. I initially did not vote for the increase. One, I did think it was disproportionately unfair to choose certain businesses over other businesses. Regardless, I still wasn't in favor of the raise simply because we're a competitive market. We have other cities we compete with, and as you guys said, Gulfport is $3. And in competitive markets, sometimes the margins shrink. So you do two things. You add more amenities to keep consumers, or you meet prices of the other competitors. And at this time, I don't think we have the ability to add amenities to justify an increase in cost. So we have to stay competitive with our neighboring cities. I don't support the increase. I'm for the amendment to maintain the same dollar per square footage. If there's nothing else, I'll call for the question. All in favor, raise your hand. Those against? Passes 4-1. Tisdale is in opposition. This will bring us to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I got a motion
second.
by George Lawrence, a second by Felix Gynes. Discussion. Councilman Lawrence, you first.
On the H, that surplus property, is that just a lot?
Mr. Lawrence, will you get in your mic a little better for me? Get
You got it?
talking to the mic.
I said, is that just a lot inside that
Alice Drive.
subdivision?
On I?
H,
H.
I've got,
the small parcel on Alice Drive.
this is a site of a former water well. It's on Tanglewood and Alice. And it's fenced off by all the adjoining neighbors. It's just a little square footage, like 1,800 square feet of just property. There's nothing there.
Is the water well gone?
Water well's gone. I think the neighbors are using it for parking, and one of the neighbors had an interest in purchasing it.
Okay. Thank you. And on J, the Point Cadet improvement, this is the change order?
It's just adding time. It's adding time, Councilman, 300 days.
Okay.
That's because of the delay in the floating docks.
That's a lot of days, is there? Where'd that come from? The 300 days, that's pretty substantial.
It came from the change order.
I know that. Why? 300 days.
Back orders on the floating.
I mean, what would the delay to
Based
cause?
on the anticipated delivery of the floating docks. They're going to start, we're told that the first of the floating docks are going to come the first 2 weeks of September, and they'll be strung out for quite a period of time. You know, a few at a time. They have to bring them in, pick them up by crane, put them in the water, move them around, put the pilings down, and then start over again. So they need 300 more days to finish,
So the 300 days justifiable?
but no money, just more time.
Couldn't
All right.
deliver, Bellingham Marine couldn't deliver the product.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Gynes.
I have nothing. Everything looks okay with me.
Councilwoman Newman. Councilman Tisdale.
Not a thing.
All right, I only have some discussion on the additions. Mr. Mayor, if you want to address them, two are reimbursements. One's minuscule and the other one could seem substantial to some. And the last is something that's going to be in the budget for this year, and it's extremely beneficial to the police
Were
department.
added to the agenda. Two of them were, relating to us getting reimbursed for the money that we've already been paid. And what's called the reconciliation change order that was done months ago, Walt, is that right, 3 months ago? Anyway, that's setting it up so we can get reimbursed for that additional money that's already been paid. And it's pretty much, a FEMA or MEMA related issue that we need to get passed in order to move forward with reimbursement. And then the last item is Chief was able to find 3 cars that we can do in this year's budget that we won't have to do in next year's budget. We got a pretty good deal on them. I think
So we found 3 Tahoes that were ordered by another city. They didn't pick them up, so they gave them to us at basically a discount of $46,500 per vehicle, which is considerably lower than what we put in the budget. So we were able to pull some money out of this year's budget. We removed 3 vehicles from next year's budget to make up for it.
Good job, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the consent agenda? There being none, I call for the question. All in favor? It's consent agenda passes unanimously. Are there any objections to any items on the consent agenda?
None.
There being none, we will move forward to the code enforcement hearings. Director Creel.
Item A on the agenda, CDE Houses and Apartments, Inc., 526 Peyton Drive. That case has been resolved. Item B, D&T LLC, Zero Pass Road. The owner has cleaned up most of the property. He's not quite finished. If we could give him another 30 days.
I'll make that motion for 30 days. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Lawrence. Any discussion? All in favor, signal with raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Item C, Evelyn Fairley Estate, 1891 Pops Ferry Road, Lot 13. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here on behalf of Evelyn Fairley Estates, 1891 Pops Ferry Road, Lot 13?
Has anybody talked to you at all about that, Jerry? Or you,
Yes, sir, we've talked to them about it. They just haven't cleaned it up.
Good, okay.
Yes, sir.
This hearing is closed.
Item D, Donald M. Fresh Estate, 2008 Greater Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Donald M. Ferici Estate or 2008 Greater Avenue?
If you look at the backyard, if you can go back to the pictures.
Just a matter of taking care of the yard.
That's what we've written up, is the overgrown lot back in there. You can see how overgrown it is in the rear.
Okay, I'll get with you later. This classmate of mine that passed away, so I'll be glad to
Okay,
do whatever needs to be done to take care of that.
Do you want to,
thank you.
you want me to give him 30 days? Kevin, 30 days?
That's fine.
Kevin,
Okay.
Kevin, for the record, since you spoke, will you give me your name and an address or city? I know you. Wait, it's not for us, it's for whoever.
You want me to sign this?
Yeah.
Sure, please.
Okay.
It's Kevin Ladner, 382 4th Avenue, Biloxi.
Thank you, Mr. Ladner. And I've got a motion, I'm going to make a motion for 30 days.
I'll second that.
And I got a second by George Lawrence. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Barrett walked into the room, so I'm going to pass him the gavel.
You can go ahead and finish.
All right. I take that back. I'm going to keep the gavel.
Item E, Land Equity LLC, 636 Murray Street. This property is still in violation.
Code enforcement, okay.
That's the other one, there you go.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Land Equity LLC or 636 Murray Street? There being none, this hearing is closed.
Item F, Salvation Army, 0 Division Street. That case has been resolved. Item G, Stone Edge LLC, 1195 Judge Sequel Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Stone Edge LLC or 1195 Judge Sequel Avenue? There being none, this hearing is closed.
Item H, Johnny Granberry Estate, 235 Hoxie Street. This case has been resolved.
Well, that will conclude our code enforcements. This will bring us to our routine agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by George Lawrence, a second by Paul Tisdale. Mr. Lawrence, discussion?
Yeah, Walt, give us the latest scoop, Walt.
Good afternoon, council. As of this morning, there's $957,400 in step 4 or 5 in the Mississippi PA website. It's been there 7 days, so the city should have this reimbursement into our accounts by the end of the week. Behind that, we expect another $756,000 based on our conversation with MEMA last Thursday.
That's it, then, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the routine agenda? I call for the question. All in favor, signal with raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously, 6-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're going to motion to adjourn by Paul Tisdale, second by Councilman Lawrence. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. We'll take a break for 5 minutes and we'll return for our next scheduled budget hearing.